So welcome along to Series 8 on playing over changes, and in this series we're going to be, well, in fairness, the last couple of series have been quite hard, quite intense really, a lot of changes and stuff. With this particular sequence, it's a very well used sequence. It's cropped up in loads and loads of different songs. Most people would think of things like Sweet Home Alabama when they hear that, but it's also it's loads of other songs. Let's just say that. We could go through loads of examples, but it's what you might call part of the rock vernacular. And what's interesting about it is that the key is D, and the second chord we get is a tone below it. Royal College of Music people would have something to say about this, because that's what you'd expect to hear in the key of D. Now, this is all to do with a subject which I'm going to tackle in some detail going forward. It's something I would describe as alternative diatonics. In other words, the chords, let's just go back on that. Diatonic chords are ones which belong to a key. Now, clearly this C in theoretical terms doesn't appear to belong. Now, the reason for that is because the diatonic system it's attached to isn't the correct one in the first place. It's kind of like the wrong dialect. So it's what I would call alternative diatonics, and I'll be coming to that as we go along. Really, the importance of this is that the chords which surround that D, they give us a lot of the quintessential rock harmonies, and that's why it's such a crucial sequence to look at. Okay, what we're going to look at doing here then is saying, well, how can we best describe playing over these changes? And in this particular case, you could argue it's almost a case of not playing over the changes. Okay, almost. Let's start with the D. Well, if we're playing that's okay, we can play our D major pentatonic, and what we're going to start by doing is introducing a G scale into it. Now, a G scale has one sharp in it, that is F sharp. Now, if I play a D scale and I leave out one of the two sharps it has in it, a D scale has two sharps, I should say, F sharp and C sharp. So if I'm playing a D scale without the C sharp in it, I'm playing a D7th scale. So that's really the point. We can say, well, we don't need to learn a D7 scale, it's just the same as a G. So I'm going to look at a couple of places here that you could combine the G scale with a D pentatonic. Okay, I think pentatonic is a good starting point for this, because it's got that slightly bluesy sort of sound to it, or at least it should have if we're playing in a relevant style to that sequence. Okay, so if I work my way up the pentatonic, okay, octave of the root note. Okay, now we've come to the third here. Now, a lot of the time when we're playing a major pentatonic, one of the problems is people play it a bit too politely, so they go, that sort of thing. That's not going to work really. You have to, when things are major in rock and blues, they're a mixture of major and minor put together. So we need to spice that up with the minor third. Okay, you can see that on a little graphic. Okay, and you'll notice we've used our passing note. There it is again in the lower octave. So here's another example. So that's something that we could do with our major pentatonic, but what we want to do is, as our first port of call, if you will, is to combine that with the G scale. So that's our first thing. Okay. And we don't have to stop just because we've resolved. Yeah, and you can see that gives it quite a lot of scope. Now, obviously, I've picked all the notes in that to highlight the fact that there's another scale happening there. But again, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to use your bent strings there. So okay, so that's one place we could add a G major scale. Now another place we could do that would be our 2-octave G scale down here, based around that E shape. Okay, I'll just play that again for you. There, pretty much all of the D that I can refer to is the fact I've got a minor and a major third there from looking at that chord shape in my mind's eye. There's major, there's minor. Okay, and that will work quite nicely. Very important to realise I could have actually gone a little further before I resolved that, and here's a little example of that, and I'll play you again, very straight sort of scale use here to make the point. So, okay, that's our starting point to be working on. In the next segment, we'll be looking at some other things that we could do with that. But for the moment, I just want you to try and get that mixture of those two scales going. And if you've watched some of the other series, you'll probably already have had a couple of goes at doing that, so you should be fairly comfortable with that. If you're not, it's not a crime, but you do need to sit down and play with that for a bit. Thanks for watching, and if you could press the subscribe button, that would be very handy.